I want to tell you about a man named Bernard, 71 years old, retired high school principal, a disciplined man, the kind of person who had read every nutrition book published in the last 2 decades, who kept a food journal, who could recite his daily fiber intake from memory. Bernard had given up red meat. He had given up butter. He had given up everything he had been told was bad for his heart. And for 11 years, he had replaced those things with what his doctors, his magazines, and every health headline told him were the right choices. He ate a bowl of granola every morning. He cooked with vegetable oil. He drank a large glass of fruit juice with lunch. He snacked on low-fat crackers and rice cakes. He used a popular heart-healthy margarine spread on his toast every single day. Bernard was doing everything right. He was certain of it. When Bernard came to me for a pre-surgical assessment, a routine procedure, nothing cardiac related, his imaging showed arterial plaque accumulation that I would expect to see in someone who had spent decades eating fast food. Significant. Progressed. Concerning. He looked at me and said, "Dr. Soren, how is that possible?" I didn't have a quick answer. Because the truth is, the foods that built that plaque in Bernard's arteries were the same foods on every approved heart-healthy list he had ever followed. What the brochure doesn't show you, what a 7-minute appointment almost never covers, is that after 60, several foods marketed specifically as healthy are doing measurable damage to your arterial walls. Not because you are eating wrong, because the advice itself was wrong. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share changed how I think about arterial health and diet, and it might change everything for you too. I'm Dr. Soren. I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon with 28 years in the operating room. I have performed over 2,500 open heart surgeries, and in every one of those operations, I have held a human heart in my hands and seen, directly, undeniably, what decades of inflammation and arterial damage look like from the inside. I make these videos because the conversation I'm about to have with you is the one I wish I could have with every patient before they reach my operating table. Most doctors don't have time to challenge the standard dietary advice. I am going to do exactly that today. Here is the critical thing nobody explains about diet and arteries after 60. Your arteries are no longer the same structures they were at 40. The inner lining of your blood vessels, called the endothelium, that means the thin, critical layer that controls inflammation, regulates blood flow, and prevents plaque from sticking, becomes less resilient with age. It is more reactive, more easily damaged, and slower to repair itself. Think of it like this. Imagine new asphalt on a road. It is smooth. Water runs off cleanly. But after years of traffic and weather, that surface becomes cracked and porous. Now even a small amount of debris sticks and builds up where it never would have before. That is your arterial lining after 60. Foods that your body once processed and cleared without consequence now leave deposits, trigger inflammation, accelerate plaque. Studies show that adults over 65 develop arterial plaque at a rate approximately 2.3 times faster than adults in their 40s, even on identical diets. Your arteries are more vulnerable to the same inputs. Advice designed for a healthy 40-year-old metabolism does not account for this shift. A food that is neutral at 45 can be genuinely destructive at 68. That distinction, and what to do about it, is exactly what we're covering today. Number 1. Commercial granola and heart-healthy breakfast cereals. Here's what nobody tells you about that bowl of granola you have eaten faithfully for years. Most commercial granolas, even the ones sold in health food stores, even the ones with words like natural, wholesome, and whole grain on the label, contain between 12 and 22 grams of added sugar per serving. And most people pour 1.5 to 2 servings without realizing it. What that sugar does in your body after 60 is called glycation. That means sugar molecules attached to proteins and fats in your bloodstream, forming compounds that directly damage the endothelial lining of your arteries. It is like pouring a slightly corrosive liquid through a pipe repeatedly. Over months and years, the inner surface of that pipe degrades. And here is the compounding problem. The refined oats and puffed grains in most cereals spike your blood glucose sharply. After 60, blood glucose regulation is slower. That spike lasts longer. The arterial exposure to elevated glucose is extended with every single bowl. A study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that adults over 65 consuming more than 15 grams of added sugar at breakfast had measurably higher levels of advanced glycation end products, arterial damage markers, in their bloodstream compared to those eating low-sugar breakfasts. The fix is exact. Replace your morning granola with half a cup of steel-cut oats, not instant, not flavored, cooked plain, with 1 tablespoon tablespoon of ground flaxseed, a small handful of raw walnuts, and a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon. No honey, no dried fruit, no added sweetener of any kind. Steel-cut oats have a glycemic index nearly 40% lower than rolled oats or commercial granola. Your arteries will feel the difference within weeks. Number 2, vegetable and seed oils, especially in cooking. Let me ask you something. What oil do you cook with every day? If your answer is sunflower oil, corn oil, canola oil, soybean oil, or any oil labeled vegetable, I need you to hear what follows very carefully. These oils are extraordinarily high in omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-6 is not inherently harmful, but the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 in your diet determines your body's baseline level of systemic inflammation. That means a slow, constant fire burning inside your blood vessels, your joints, your organs. The optimal ratio for cardiovascular health is approximately 4-to-1, omega-6 to omega-3. The average person cooking daily with vegetable oils is consuming a ratio closer to 20-to-1. That imbalance, in an aging arterial system that is already less capable of managing inflammation, is one of the most significant and least discussed contributors to accelerated plaque formation I have encountered in my career. I'll be honest with you. For the first decade of my surgical career, I told patients that vegetable oils were a heart-healthy alternative to butter. The research that existed then seemed to support it. I was wrong, and I have seen that mistake play out in operating rooms in ways I cannot unsee. A study published in the British Medical Journal, analyzing data from over 9,400 adults with a mean age of 65, found that replacing saturated fats with omega-6 rich vegetable oils did not reduce cardiovascular events and in some subgroups was associated with increased cardiac mortality. The fix: cook exclusively with extra virgin olive oil for low to medium heat, no more than 1 tablespoon per meal, or with a small amount of real grass-fed butter. For higher heat cooking, use avocado oil. Remove vegetable, sunflower, corn, and canola oil from your kitchen entirely. This is not a small change. It is one of the highest impact dietary shifts you can make for your arteries after 60. Have you been cooking with vegetable oil for years, believing it was the healthy choice? Write it in the comments. I read every single one. Number 3, commercial fruit juice, including 100% natural varieties. Here's what surprises most of my patients when I explain this. They look at me and say, "But Dr. Soren, it says 100% juice, no added sugar." And I explain, the problem is not added sugar. The problem is the sugar that was always there, and what happens to it when the fiber is removed. When you eat a whole orange, the natural sugars are bound to fiber. That fiber slows absorption. Blood glucose rises gradually. Your liver processes the fructose in a manageable, distributed way. Now take that same orange, remove all the fiber, concentrate the juice of 4 or 5 oranges into 1 glass, and drink it in 2 minutes. What you have just delivered to your liver and bloodstream is a fructose load equivalent to a small can of soda. The medical term is hepatic fructose overload. That means the liver receives more fructose than it can process cleanly, and the overflow converts to triglycerides. That means blood fats, which circulate and contribute directly to arterial plaque. Research published in the American Heart Association journal Circulation found that adults over 65 consuming 1 or more glasses of fruit juice daily had 26% higher triglyceride levels compared to those who ate whole fruit instead. The fix: eliminate all juice. Replace it with the whole fruit it came from. 1 medium orange, a small apple, half a cup of blueberries. If you want something to drink, make water genuinely enjoyable. Steep it overnight with cucumber slices and a few mint leaves. Drink 350 ml with your breakfast every morning. Your arteries do not need juice. They need what juice removes. Number 4, low-fat and fat-free processed foods. Here's what the standard advice gets completely wrong about fat. When food manufacturers remove fat from a product, low-fat yogurt, fat-free salad dressing, reduced-fat peanut butter, light mayonnaise, they face a problem. Fat carries flavor, texture, and satisfaction. Without it, the product tastes like cardboard, so they replace the fat with something. And that something is almost always a combination of sugar, modified starch, and chemical thickeners. This is not a secret. It is on the label. But what a 7-minute appointment almost never covers is the specific mechanism of harm. Those added starches and sugars, even in small quantities, trigger something called hyperinsulinemia. That means chronically elevated insulin levels from repeated blood sugar spikes. After 60, elevated insulin promotes arterial inflammation, drives plaque formation, and contributes to the thickening of arterial walls. I have asked myself many times, what would I recommend for my own parent? The answer is never the low-fat version of anything. Never. Real fat, from real food, in measured amounts, is what the human body knows how to process. process. Industrial substitutes are not. A study published in Nutrition Reviews found that adults over 65 consuming a diet high in low-fat processed foods had significantly higher markers of endothelial dysfunction. That means damage to the inner lining of their arteries, compared to those eating full-fat, minimally processed alternatives. The fix: read the label of everything labeled low-fat or fat-free in your kitchen right now. If the second or third ingredient is any form of sugar, starch, or corn syrup, replace it with its full-fat whole food equivalent. Full-fat Greek yogurt with no added sugar. Real olive oil-based dressing made at home with 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and a pinch of dried oregano. Real peanut butter with 1 ingredient, peanuts. Fat is not your enemy. Processed fake fat food is. Number 5. Margarine and plant-based butter spreads. This is perhaps the most important item I will share today, and it is the one that took the medical community the longest to confront, honestly. For 30 years, from roughly the 1970s through the early 2000s, margarine was prescribed as a heart-healthy alternative to butter. Doctors recommended it, hospitals served it, and patients like Bernard spread it on their toast every single morning, believing they were protecting their hearts. The trans fats in traditional margarine, partially hydrogenated vegetable oils, are now well established as one of the most potent promoters of LDL cholesterol and arterial plaque ever introduced into the food supply. Most countries have since regulated or banned them, but many modern plant-based spreads still contain small amounts of partially hydrogenated oils, and almost all contain the same high omega-6 vegetable oils we discussed earlier. This is called lipid peroxidation. That means the fats in these spreads, when they enter your bloodstream, oxidize. They effectively rust, and those oxidized particles embed themselves in arterial walls and trigger the immune response that becomes plaque. I have seen this plaque. I have touched it with my own hands on the operating table. It is not abstract. A study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, following over 120,000 adults across 20 years, found that every 2% increase in trans fat consumption was associated with a 29% increase in coronary heart disease risk, a number that was even more pronounced in participants over 65. The fix: remove all margarine and plant-based spreads from your home immediately. Replace them with real grass-fed butter, used in small measured amounts, 1 teaspoon per slice of bread, no more. Or use half a ripe avocado, mashed, as a spread. The monounsaturated fats in avocado actively support arterial flexibility. Your arteries know the difference between real food and processed chemistry. Feed them accordingly. I want to tell you about Sylvia. 73 years old, retired nurse, 38 years of clinical experience, a woman who had spent her career teaching patients about healthy eating. She walked 5 days a week. She kept her weight stable. She monitored her own blood pressure at home. She was, by every external measure, a model patient. 3 different cardiologists over 6 years had looked at her numbers and called them acceptable. One had told her she was doing everything right. Sylvia came to me after experiencing unusual chest tightness during a routine walk. Not a cardiac event, but a warning she was wise enough to take seriously. When I reviewed her imaging, I saw arterial changes that did not match her lifestyle on paper. Something in her diet was causing inflammation that her exercise and medications were not keeping pace with. I sat with Sylvia for 40 minutes, not 7. 40. I asked her to walk me through every meal, every ingredient, every product label she trusted. Granola every morning, a premium brand she had bought for 9 years. Cooking with sunflower oil. Her hospital's dietary department had recommended it. A glass of orange juice with lunch every day because she knew about vitamin C. Low-fat yogurt as an afternoon snack. And a plant-based margarine spread she had switched to specifically to protect her heart. 5 foods, all of them marketed as healthy. All of them quietly driving arterial inflammation in a 73-year-old endothelium that no longer had the resilience to compensate. We rebuilt her diet methodically. Steel-cut oats replaced the granola. Olive oil replaced the sunflower oil. Whole oranges replaced the juice. Full-fat Greek yogurt replaced the low-fat version. Real grass-fed butter, 1 teaspoon, replaced the margarine. 10 weeks later, Sylvia's inflammatory markers, specifically her high-sensitivity CRP, a measure of arterial inflammation, had dropped 41%. Her follow-up imaging showed measurable stabilization of her plaque. Her cardiologist reduced one of her medications. She called my office on a Friday afternoon. She said, "Dr. Soren, I spent 38 years telling patients how to eat. I had no idea I was getting it wrong myself." That call stayed with me. Because if a nurse with nearly 4 decades of clinical experience was misled by the standard dietary advice, what chance did anyone else have? The food that surrounds you in a health food store is not always the food that heals you. Sometimes it is the opposite. Let me bring this together simply and clearly. 1. Replace your granola or sweetened cereal with half a cup of plain steel-cut oats, ground flaxseed, and raw walnuts every morning, no exceptions. 2. Remove all vegetable and seed oils from your kitchen and cook only with extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, or a small measured amount of real grass-fed butter. 3. Eliminate all fruit juice. Replace it with the whole fruit it came from and drink 350 ml of plain water with every meal. 4. Throw away every low-fat and fat-free processed product in your refrigerator. Replace each one with its real, whole food equivalent. 5. Remove all margarine and plant-based spreads. Replace with 1 teaspoon of grass-fed butter or half a mashed avocado per serving. Start tonight with this one action. Go to your kitchen and read the ingredient label on your cooking oil. If it says sunflower, canola, corn, soybean, or vegetable, take it out. Replace it tomorrow with a bottle of extra virgin olive oil. That single swap, made tonight, changes what goes into your arteries starting with your very next meal. Your body has been working for you every single minute of your life. Give it what it needs. It will respond. If this video gave you something real, share it with someone you love. A spouse, a sibling, a friend over 60 who has faithfully followed the standard dietary advice and cannot understand why their numbers are still wrong. That one share might be the most important thing you do today. And tell me in the comments, which of these 5 hit closest to home for you? Was it the granola? The vegetable oil you have cooked with for 20 years? The fruit juice you thought was protecting you? I genuinely want to know. Everything I've shared today is general medical information based on published research and my clinical experience as a cardiothoracic surgeon. It is not a replacement for your personal medical care. Every person's situation is unique. Before making any changes, especially to medications or supplements, please have a full, honest conversation with your own doctor. That conversation, informed and unhurried, is exactly where good medicine begins.